In the shadows of a weary, crumbling apartment building, Elliot, a young man burdened by debt and desperation, moves into a cheap, unsettling unit. As he steps inside apartment 4B, the air hangs heavy with decay and an intangible menace, drawing him quietly yet inexorably into a sinister reality from which there may be no escape. The stairs groan beneath my steps, sounding like fragile bones fracturing as I hauled the last box to the 5th floor. The air hung heavy with the scent of mildew mixed with something sour, a stench that clawed in my throat and made my stomach twist uneasily. At the end of a narrow corridor stood apartment 4B. Its door was painted a revolting green, peeling away in ragged shards like diseased skin. Above, water stains sprawled across the ceiling like maps of forgotten continents, their brown edges declaring years of neglect. My fingers trembled slightly, both from exhaustion and an undercurrent of dread that had shadowed me for months. As I searched for the keys in my pocket, the rent was an unbelievable bargain, $400 a month, but standing there amid the flickering, buzzing fluorescent light that cast erratic shadows against cracked walls, I slowly grasped the reason why. The light pulsed in a peculiar rhythm. 3 quick flashes, darkness, then another 3, like a cryptic Morse code I couldn't decode. The lock resisted, clinging stubbornly before releasing with a harsh grinding click that echoed down the empty hallway. Pushing the door open, it groaned low, revealing a cramped studio apartment stained with years of neglect. Yellowed walls, threadbare carpet unhealthy with history, and faint outlines where furniture had been dragged, leaving imprints that reminded me of crime scene markings. Still, it was mine, the only refuge I could afford under the suffocating weight of my student loans. Exhausted and anxious, I set down my boxes and took in the small, dim space. A kitchenette cowered in one corner, its cabinet doors hanging crooked as broken wings. The countertop bubbled and peeled, revealing particle board beneath. The sink dripped rhythmically, each metallic plink piercing the silence. Through the lone window, I glimpsed an alley littered with garbage cans clustered like metal fungi, their lids askew and spilling waste on a cracked asphalt. The bathroom door hung ajar, exposing cracked, stained tiles that had long lost their original white luster. A mirror loomed above the sink, its surface unervingly clear, reflecting the room not just with clarity, but with a subtle distortion. Objects twisted just enough to feel wrong. There was something watching, not me, but the space itself. I startled when a figure appeared abruptly in the doorway. A woman, pale beyond mere fairness, with skin suggesting the absence of something vital, stood silently. Her hair was pulled tight into a bond that pulled her skin arrogantly taut, sharpening her already harsh features. But it was the smile that stopped me. Stretched too far, like a canvas pulled over a frame too large, those lips didn't invite comfort. They warned danger. "I'm Clara," she said, her voice musical yet rehearsed, each syllable measured as if she had played the part 1,000 times. "I live down the hall. You like it here, Elliot?" How she knew my name was a cold punch to my chest. I hadn't introduced myself. Her unblinking, gray eyes, glass-like and unyielding, held me captive with a mechanical menace that reminded me of a doll's stare. Her head tilted with an unnatural sharpness, snapping with a faint crackling sound that might have been neck or something far worse. "The building has its own rhythm. You'll learn." Her smile remained fixed as she glided soundlessly away, a ghost untouched by the groaning, creaking floor beneath her. A chill crawled up my arms, but I forced the thought away. Old buildings attracted strange neighbors, I told myself. Yet the first impression lingered, and with every creak and flicker of that distorted light, the weight of my new home pressed more heavily on me. I nearly toppled over a box when I spun around, startled by a sudden presence in my doorway. A woman stood there, pale as the ghostly walls that surrounded us, and every instinct in me screamed danger. Clara introduced herself with a voice that was oddly musical, as if she were reciting lines from a play performed countless times. Her smile was unnerving, stretched far too wide and tight, like it was a mask pulled too taut. Her dark hair was tied back tightly, pulling her skin unnaturally taut and sharpening her features beyond normal bounds. What unsettled me most were her eyes, gray, almost colorless, and disturbingly still, blinking mechanically like a doll's. She spoke my name with perfect precision, even though I had never mentioned it to her myself. "I live down the hall. You like it here, Elliot," she said, her tone somehow rehearsed and artificial. Clara's head tilted at an impossible angle, accompanied by a faint crackling sound that might have been her neck, or something else entirely. "The building has its own rhythm. You'll learn," she said, her smile unwavering, fixed like a mask. Then, without the faintest sound, she glided away down the creaking hallway, leaving goosebumps crawling up my arms. Her footsteps defied the groaning floors that moaned under my own weight, as if she were weightless. I shook off the dread that clung to me and tried to convince myself she was just a strange neighbor, one who knew the building's secrets far better than I did, but meant no harm. Yet, her strange knowledge, the way she enunciated my name, and the cold precision of her movements left an echo of unease that I couldn't dismiss. As the days wore on, the unsettling sensations in apartment 4B deepened, wrapping around Elliot like a tightening coil of dread. The flickering fluorescent lights' strange rhythm persisted, casting erratic shadows that danced in his peripheral vision. Sometimes, while unpacking or working on his designs, he caught sight of objects subtly shifted from their original places. A book slightly askew on a shelf, keys misplaced where he was certain he'd left them undisturbed. Each unexplained movement compounded the gnawing unease growing inside him. At night, an eerie low hum thrummed through the walls, pulsating with an almost sentient cadence that synced uncomfortably with his own heartbeat. Whispered voices seemed to flicker just beyond comprehension, slipping through the vents as if emanating from the building's very skeleton. This sound wasn't mechanical, but deliberate, like a chant or a beckoning below the threshold of human hearing, chilling his bones. One night, Elliot discovered his apartment door ajar when he was sure he'd locked it tight. Though the deadbolt was fully engaged, the door had shifted, leaking cold, sour air into the room, the same foul scent he had noticed in the hallway. He resecured the door with excessive force, wedging a chair beneath the handle, fighting the primal terror clawing at his mind. All these creeping anomalies converged with a sinking realization. Something inside the building was watching him. The shadows felt alive, the silence oppressive. No ordinary building would feel as though it held its breath, waiting, yet this place did. And Elliot knew that no matter the reasons behind the apartment's inexplicable nature, his sanctuary was quickly becoming a prison from which escape seemed ever more distant. The next day, seeking some semblance of normalcy, I ventured down to the basement to use the laundry room. The flickering fluorescent lights illuminated the concrete corridors that twisted like a labyrinth beneath the building. There, at a washing machine, I found Sam, a gaunt, weary man whose eyes told stories of sleepless nights and heavy burdens. He didn't mince words. "You're the new guy?" he said flatly. I nodded, introducing myself as Elliot from 4B. His gaze sharpened, assessing me silently before he spoke again. "How's the apartment treating you?" I hesitated. "It's quiet, I guess." Sam let out a bitter laugh. Quiet is one way to put it. He leaned closer, voice low and urgent. "Listen, kid, keep your head down. Don't ask any questions. Just do as you're told." His warning hung heavy in the stale basement air. Before I could press further, the door creaked open behind him. An uneasy silence fell. Later that day, the delivery guy returning my takeout froze unnervingly at the threshold, his pale face drained of color. eyes flicking anxiously over my shoulder to the dark corridor where Clara loomed, still and silent. Her unnaturally wide smile barely contained our pallid face. "She's just a neighbor," I tried to assure him, though my voice wavered. The delivery guy shook his head, taking hurried steps toward the stairs. "Good luck, man. You're gonna need it." His words echoed in the hallway long after he vanished, leaving me with an oppressive sense of foreboding that gripped tight around my chest like a vice. I rummaged through the kitchen more thoroughly, driven by a rising dread and a desperate hope to find anything that could help me understand this nightmare. Behind the heavy refrigerator, hidden from casual view, I found a fragile plastic bag taped carefully to its back. Inside was a folded piece of paper, yellowed and brittle with age. My hand shook as I unfolded the note, revealing frantic handwriting in faded blue ink. The message was a stark warning. "If you're reading this, then you found the rules, and you're probably scared out of your mind. Good. Fear will keep you alive longer than courage will. I lived in 4B for 6 years, 6 long years of obeying their demands, keeping my head down and accepting their gifts. They made me wealthy, promoted me multiple times, brought me the love of my life, cleared my debts, and healed my health problems. The building gives you everything you want. But I got careless. I saw Clara as just a peculiar neighbor rather than what she truly is. One morning I spoke to her first, a simple good morning. She saw me, really saw me. Now they're done with me. I'm writing this at 3 a.m. as something scratches at my door. They've known I'm leaving. They can smell it. They're not trying to stop me because they want me gone. They want me to spread the word so new tenants come. Don't slip like I did. Never get comfortable. They are predators wearing human masks. If you're smart, you'll leave before they sink their hooks too deep. The blessings are bait. The longer you stay, the harder it is to leave. Marcus, P.S. Check your bank account. If it's empty, you've waited too long. A cold chill spread through me as I read the final lines. The warnings made everything fall into place. Clara's unnatural smile, her unblinking stare, the terrified delivery guy's reaction, Sam's haunted face. Following the rules sounded insane, yet ignoring them felt like a death sentence. Without hesitation, I filled the glass with water and left it outside my door, feeling utterly ridiculous but too afraid not to, though the hallway was empty. A prickling sensation told me I was being watched. Clara's presence seeped relentlessly into my daily life, her unnerving smile a permanent fixture at the edge of my awareness. Each encounter heightened the strangeness around me, blurring the line between reality and madness. The apartment seemed to pulse with a sinister life of its own, shadows stretching and twisting as if shaped by her gaze. One evening, as I worked late into the night, a faint tapping came from the hallway. I opened my door cautiously, the dim light revealing Clara standing perfectly still, her head tilted at that impossible angle. Her eyes, gray and unblinking, met mine, not with warmth, but with a cold, hollow intent. The air thickened, pressing against my chest, constricting each breath. My reflection in the hallway mirror seemed to waver and distort, mimicking the unease settling deep inside. I tried to ignore her presence, but she found ways to intrude. Whispers drifted through the vents, carrying fragments of her voice that fluttered like moths at the edge of hearing. Sometimes I would catch glimpses of movement just beyond the corner of my eye, a sudden flicker where no one should be. The line between waking and dreaming blurred. Clara's form appeared in cracks between reality and nightmare, relentless and inevitable. Each day, my grip on sanity loosened as the unnatural rhythm of the building and Clara's haunting presence entwined around me like vines. Her smile stretched ever wider, promising blessings yet demanding obedience. It was clear now. She was not simply a neighbor, but a sentinel of this cursed place, watching, waiting, and imprisoning me in her unyielding gaze. The unsettling atmosphere in apartment 4B intensified as the days passed, weaving an inescapable tension around Elliot's fragile existence. Strange messages began to infiltrate his life, first as anonymous texts warning him to watch yourself, then evolving into urgent emails from his supervisor with cryptic hints that his future at work depended on his survival within the building's dark embrace. The supernatural occurrences escalated too. Whispered voices echoed through the walls, calling his name in distorted tones that grazed the edge of sanity. Shadows seemed to shift just beyond his vision, and the faint yet persistent humming filled the air, a grim lullaby that invaded his thoughts. His home transformed from sanctuary into a prison. Every creak and groan of the old building felt like the slow tightening of invisible chains. Clara's presence grew more intrusive. Her wide, unnatural smile and motionless posture shifted from unsettling to outright menacing. Elliot's attempts to avoid her gaze only increased the intensity of her attention, as if she relished the psychological torment. The simple act of opening his door felt like challenging a predator, and the once faint anxiety blossomed into a consuming dread. As shadows lengthened and tempers frayed, Elliot received a chilling message that no longer seemed like a warning. The building was no longer just watching. It was closing in, and the sinister forces within had made him their captive. The disturbances had escalated beyond mere unsettling noises and flickering lights. Clara's presence had grown more imposing, her unnatural smile stretching further, her eyes darker, more void than before. Each night, the shadows pressed closer, crawling along the walls like living things, suffocating the space in a thick, ancient dread. The rhythmic hum that had once been distant now thrummed within my very bones, matching the frantic beat of my heart. One night, as the building seemed to pulse with a sinister life of its own, the whispers pierced through the walls with sharpened clarity, voices layered and twisted, chanting my name, Elliot. The air turned biting cold, every breath hanging like frost in the thick silence. A weight heavier than gravity bore down on me, an invisible presence pressing relentlessly, turning my once safe apartment into a prison with no escape. Clara's voice slithered through the cracked door, distorted and seductive, calling me to open it, to let the darkness in. The deadbolt slid back on its own, the lock trembling as if unwillingly surrendering its hold. Panic surged inside me, yet my body froze, caught as though the building itself held me captive. In that crushing moment, the terrifying truth revealed itself. This wasn't just an old, neglected building housing strange tenants. The edifice was alive, an ancient, malevolent force feeding on fear and obedience. Clara and the others were not neighbors, but predators in human guise, guardians of a twisted pact offering blessings laced with dread. I realized the price for survival was not merely silence or avoidance. It was complete submission to this dark rhythm. To resist was to invite erasure, to vanish without a trace, like the tenants before me. To embrace, it was to become part of the sinister cycle that wove throughout these decaying walls. Facing this abyss, I confronted a harrowing choice: yield to the sentinel shadows and accept their dark gifts, or dare to fight for a fragile freedom that may not exist. The building had opened its maw, and I was caught between its grasp and a void beyond. Faced with an impossible dilemma, I stood in the wreckage of my once cramped studio, the echoes of Clara's distorted voice still reverberating in my mind. The building's blessings came at a terrifying cost, binding me in ways I never imagined when I first moved into 4B. Opportunity gleamed on the screen before me, a six-figure lead designer position, a dream job contradicting the nightmare that had become my life. I wrestled with the choice laid bare before me. Accept this sinister bargain and stay, embracing the gifts the building offered, while submitting to its relentless, watchful inhabitants. Or flee, forsaking the success I claw my way to, but risking everything, including my very existence. The rules, etched in brittle paper, haunted my thoughts. Never break them, never invite them in, or be erased from reality. The lingering scratches on my walls, the disappeared keys, the lingering smell of wrought outside my door, all reminded me that the price was steep and the captivity real. Yet, stepping away meant diving into the unknown, where the shadows of this place might still haunt me. I realized then that this wasn't a simple choice between freedom and captivity. It was a question of survival, of navigating a merciless balance where each option bore its own kind of curse. The building's sinister embrace promised power and prosperity, but the price of my soul's quiet dignity. Escape promised uncertain freedom, but came with threats that might consume me whole. With trembling hands, I closed my laptop and looked toward the hallway beyond my locked door. Clara's smile flickered like a dark promise in my memory. I had to choose whether to become yet another lost name whispered among these walls, or to hold tightly to the fragile, terrifying life I'd forged in 4B, accepting the shadows for the faint light they bestowed. The final moments in apartment 4B brought a chilling clarity to Elliot's fate, standing amid the chaos of overturned furniture and shattered screens. With the eerie glow of morning light filtering through the grimy window, he faced a stark choice: flee from the sinister forces that claimed the building or embrace the dark bargain that had transformed his life. The tempting offers, a six-figure design project, the erasure of crushing debts, the restoration of his health, were no mere coincidences but blessings tethered to a steep price. The unsettling presence of Clara and the other pale residents left no doubt that these rewards came at the cost of perpetual vigilance, strict adherence to their cryptic rules, and an unyielding submission to the building's malevolent will. Despite the dread that gnawed at him, Elliot recognized that his career, his financial survival, and even a strange relief from his long-standing pain depended on remaining tethered to 4B. The alternative, the desperate hope of escape, seemed increasingly impossible as each day tightened the invisible bonds around him. In that moment, Elliot made his decision. He chose to stay, to live within the suffocating rhythm of the apartment and its uncanny inhabitants, acknowledging that while he might be trapped, the price of freedom was one he could no longer afford. Bound by fear and ambition alike, he accepted the haunting truth. His life was now entwined with the shadows of apartment 4B, a bittersweet existence of success mingled with a perpetual, oppressive dread. Elliot's reluctant embrace of his fate within the oppressive walls of apartment 4B reveals a chilling reality. Success and survival here come with a steep and unforgiving price. Though he gained fortune, health, and career advancement, these blessings are shackled to an existence of constant vigilance, dread, and submission to forces far beyond human comprehension. Trapped by both circumstance and the sinister bargains wrought within the building, Elliot's story serves as a haunting reminder that some victories demand endless obedience and surrender, locking one into an eternal cycle of unsettling coexistence with the uncanny entities that inhabit this cursed place. If you found this chilling tale of apartment 4B captivating, please consider subscribing, liking, sharing, or leaving a comment to support more stories that explore the eerie and unsettling corners of reality. Your engagement helps bring these haunting narratives to life.